for Pete Prisco. His power rankings, they're pursuing with week 1 finally in the books. Coming in at number 1, he has the 49ers. The Eagles at 2, the Jacksonville Jaguars coming in at 3, Kansas City and Dallas. You're at number 5. I guess putting 40 on the Giants doesn't propel you up into the top 3. We're going to discuss with Pete in just a moment. But we have the Ravens, the Browns, and then the Dolphins at the top 8. If we look at the Jets and the Bills, the Jets after the Aaron Rodgers news coming in at number 11. Buffalo after that hard loss and a terrible game for Josh Allen coming in at number 12. All right, we have the whole squad here to break down Pete's power rankings. We have Lee J to kind of keep you in line, Pete.
Have to.
You know, this duo is one of my favorites. We're going to start, of course, with the huge news for Jets fans. Aaron Rodgers tearing his ACL, and they come in at number 11 on your list, Pete. Sportsline, our friends over there, the projections for the Jets to go to the postseason with Aaron Rodgers and then with Zach Wilson, it has dipped obviously significantly since this news came out. Pete, how confident are you that the Jets could go up in your power rankings, or are they just going to keep sliding down?
Well, before we start, does anybody have any tissues? I need to give him some.
I did enough crying last night.
No, look, Zach Wilson, can he be Brad Johnson, who won a Super Bowl with Tampa? Can he be Trent Dilfer, who won a Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens? It is a dominant defense. It has a chance to be really, really special. But you're asking a lot of Zach Wilson. And think about this, though. Like I said this morning, he's been around Aaron Rodgers, so maybe some of the things that he did will bounce off of him and help him. He'll learn not to scramble 40 yards. We thought he learned that. He did it twice last night. He has to stop that. They'll fall. They're going to get beat this week at Dallas. Okay. And oh, no. Oh, wow. So? Already, here he is.
They're definitely not going to be favored. I'll tell you that.
They're not going to be favored. 9.5-point underdogs. They're going to be 9.5-point underdogs. So if you look at that, I think they'll keep falling. Look, Zach Wilson has talent. Whether he can harness that talent and become something, who knows?
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly, right? You would hope that the 4 to 5 months he spent with Rodgers kind of rubbed off on him. And I think we saw some progressions now. We saw him regress when you talked about him running backwards and then staring a receiver down in the middle of the field, and Matt Milano gets that interception. He did that with his first 2 years, and we hope that that kind of got out of his system. But the third down conversions that we saw last night, him finding Alan Lazard in the hole, near the red zone, finding Garrett Wilson on a third down pickup, which was really good. He threw the ball low and away where nobody could get it but Garrett Wilson. And I really liked his processing, right? There was one play, he spread, the Buffalo defense out, decided to bring Dalvin Cook back in the backfield, run the ball, pick up a first down. That's processing, Pete. That's where you see the growth in Zach Wilson. And now, with the running game, it seems like Breece Hall is all the way, not all the way back, but mostly back with Dalvin Cook in the backfield. They ran block really well yesterday. I think they're going to really lean on that run game, right? They're not going to put too much on Zach Wilson. And you talked about it. It's going to be led by the run game and this championship-type defense. I mean, that defense got after Josh Allen yesterday. 5 sacks, could have been even more. He threw 3 picks, probably could have been even more. So that's how this team is going to be led going forward. Now, will they drop? And they should drop in the power rankings. You lose a 4-time MVP. That obviously happens. But I think they'll still be competitive throughout the year.
One quick thing about the defense. When they needed to stop late in the game, they didn't get it, though.
But that wasn't on them. Honestly, I think that's on Aubrey. Because if you look at it in zone coverage, Josh Allen struggled the whole game. Then they went man, which made no sense.
They didn't stop him.
I get that, but a part of it is on the play call, too.
I agree.
And really quickly, before we move on to the 49ers, Zach Wilson obviously is going to be the guy in the short term, but long term, I mean, what do you guys think they do at quarterback?
Well, talking to Robert Saleh and everybody in that brass, they're going forward with Zach Wilson. Now, could things change?
Well, they're making calls.
Yeah, they are. And the thing is, with this offense, it's going to take a quarterback a good month, maybe even more, to really get it down packed. So for the next 4 to 5 weeks, Zach Wilson is going to be the quarterback. I know me and Pete kind of talked about this earlier this morning. I would put a call into New Orleans, Jameis Winston. I mean, I think that's a quarterback that could get you through the regular season and maybe make a push for the playoffs if Zach Wilson were to falter at the quarterback position. Gardner Minshew is another guy that comes to mind. I don't know if the Colts will be willing to let him go, especially with Anthony Richardson kind of getting dinged up that last game. But those are 2 guys I think about a lot. And a name that people probably won't like, Josh Johnson has been in this system the last 2 years. He was with San Francisco, and he was with the Jets when Mike LaFleur was there. This is all from the Shanahan-LaFleur tree with Nathaniel Hackett. Josh Johnson could be a stopgap guy, too.
If your #1 quarterback is a star and he goes down, your season is over.
Bold statement, bold statement. But you have to imagine, too, that Aaron Rodgers, even though he's out with a torn Achilles, you still think that he plays a role mentoring Zach Wilson.
Which he didn't do in Green Bay when he was around, by the way. No, that's not true. He had Jordan Love.
He did.
He is a change man.
But I do want to push back because you said when you lose your starting quarterback, it's over. Look at San Fran, and it's the same system.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, week one.
They have Christian McCaffrey on that team?
They got Breece Hall.
I love it. I love the debate. Week one, a roller coaster for many reasons. Last night's game, of course, Jets, Bills, one of those reasons. But I think what we all can agree on across the league is that the San Francisco 49ers, that performance solidified them as the most dominant team in the opening week of the NFL season. They come in at #1 in your power rankings.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're eager for redemption.
And they were the team I picked to win the Super Bowl. I just didn't start them at #1. I moved them up. The way they played, I didn't see that coming. I'll be honest with you.
Why'd you pick Jacksonville to win it?
No, I picked that Jacksonville would lose it.
Jacksonville's in the Super Bowl.
They're in it.
But they lose in San Fran. Okay.
When I looked at the Niners-Steelers game, I thought, okay, tough trip, going east, good team, home team, good defense, and they just dominated from start to finish. It was terrible. When you looked at it, they did anything and everything they wanted to do. They dominated on defense, they dominated on offense, and they are loaded with stars across the board. There's no team that's more star-studded than the San Francisco 49ers. The Jets aren't in that class. And so I think that's the biggest difference when it comes to the quarterback position. You say you plug and play. Purdy, we still don't know. He had a great game, but 8 games does not make a career, so I still have to continue to see him progress, but they do make it easy on him.
When will you believe in Brock Purdy?
When he wins the Super Bowl this year.
Wow, that's a high bar.
So you're like me. I didn't pick the Jacksonville Jaguars to get into the Super Bowl, but I definitely picked San Francisco, and I picked them as my winner versus Kansas City in the Super Bowl, and it's because of what you talked about. I mean, this is a star-studded team. The only thing that they were missing last year was Brock Purdy being healthy in the NFC Championship game. It was straight bully ball in Pittsburgh this past week. I mean, they ran the ball down their throat. Brock Purdy, when he wanted to, was, you know, he dissected the defense in the middle of the field, and that defense got after Kenny Pickett. I mean, Drake Jackson is a guy, we always talk about it, Pete, from year 1 to year 2, that's when you see your biggest growth. He showed up in a big way because Nick Bosa is going to take him a little while, probably 3 or 4 weeks before he's Nick Bosa again. But the San Francisco 49ers, without a doubt, are the #1 team in football right now.
Yeah, and Pete, you have your Super Bowl prediction is the 49ers and the Jags. Let's talk about the Jags. You have them losing the Super Bowl, but, I mean, what a slow start for the AFC this week with the Bills, the Chiefs, the Bengals. I know you were predicting the Jags to be the 1 seed in the AFC, and their opening game against the Colts, maybe not as put together as you would like on offense. They still put up 31 points with, you know, those losses in Kansas City, the Bengals, and the Bills. Is this your solidified 1 seed even more so in the AFC?
Well, it's not going to be easy. I mean, that AFC is jungle. I mean, across the board, there's so many quarterbacks, and you know, some of them didn't play well. Burrow and Josh Allen did not play well.
Yep.
Trevor Lawrence didn't really look to be clicking all the way to me, and I said that yesterday. I did a show in Jacksonville, and I said, look, they didn't look like you expected them to look. Then you look up, they have 31 points. That's the sign of a good offense, and not only that, a great offense. I said they would score 500 points this season. They're on pace for it. They get 31 in the opener, and they didn't really play that well. Remember, Press Taylor's now the play caller. They gave him play calling responsibilities. That means Doug Peterson not calling plays. They didn't look like they were in any rhythm, and you still scored 31 points. That's a great sign. And the defense was much better. They only, you know, remember that they had one fumble return for a touchdown, the Colts. The defense actually did some good things against Anthony Richardson after they figured out he was just going to try and get outside the pocket.
Yeah, it's week 1 versus a divisional opponent. You're not just going to come and blow them out. I think the Colts, you know, showed that they're young and they're scrappy and they fought. And you talked about that fumble recovery, which was kind of a weird sequence. You know, DeForest Buckner hits Trevor Lawrence's hand. We don't know if it's a fumble or not. Tank Bigsby picks it up. Then he gets it punched out of his hand.
He stands there with it.
He just stands there with it. And then DeForest Buckner takes off with it. But you're right. They didn't didn't look like they were, hitting on all cylinders in the beginning of the game. What really concerned me was their short yardage offense. I mean, they were moving the ball in between the 30s, but when they got towards the red zone, they kind of got stalled out. Now, Trevor Lawrence, I believe, in the third or fourth quarter made a big throw to Zay Jones on a 4th and 2 to convert them. But before that, they really struggled on 3rd and 1 and 4th and short. And in football, you got to be able to convert those things and get points in the red zone, not just settle for field goals. Again, they were able to get away with that with the Indianapolis Colts. They got a big test this week because we'll see if Chris Jones or Travis Kelce comes back, but this is going to be must-watch TV this week.
Their inside players were dominated on tape in the offensive line. That was a problem. And Chris Jones gets them. By the way, this is a major proving game this week for Jacksonville. If you win it, your season, you're not going to the Super Bowl automatically, but they will be relevant. Yeah. If they beat the Chiefs this week, the national people will jump on. They'll be relevant.
That's a great way to put it. Meanwhile, up in Detroit, there are a ton of happy fans because winning at Arrowhead is no small feat, especially for such a young Lions squad, right? They come in at 10th in your power rankings, Pete. It's week 1, and everyone likes to overreact, but you can't help but ask yourself that the hype around this team is real, Pete.
Well, it's real, but we still got to temper it a little bit because they played without, the Chiefs played without Chris Jones and Travis Kelce, the guy that makes the offense go and the guy that makes the defense go. And when you look at it, the one concern I have about the Lions, they only scored 14 points on offense because they had a pick 6 by Branch. So they only scored 14 points. One thing that stood out to me when I watched that game on tape, they lacked the playmakers down the field, the deep playmakers, so people can squat on stuff, and they're going to have to get creative. They need Jameson Williams back in the lineup. He has the deep speed. When he gets back, that'll kind of solve that. But there are some concerns about him, but that was an impressive road victory. I don't care who's on the field. You go to Arrowhead and win on opening night, that's a big-time victory.
Yeah, and with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback at that, I think we all were thinking no matter what, even if Travis Kelce and Chris Jones isn't playing, when you got Patty Mahomes at quarterback, you got a chance to win that game. So that was a gutsy win by the Detroit Lions. And to your point, right, let's not forget Marvin Jones had that fumble in the red zone. So they could have potentially had 21 on offense, plus the pick 6 that Brian Branch had. But I really love Ben Johnson, the way he was able to hit you with different formations and really confuse the Kansas City Chiefs. There was times he put 2 back sets in the game, right? Jahmyr Gibbs at receiver, and then he had David Montgomery in the backfield. So I really like what they do on offense. The thing with them is they need to find another rusher outside of Aiden Hutchinson. I thought James Houston was going to be the guy. They really struggled getting to the quarterback. There was times where Patrick Mahomes was literally back there taking a nap on a lunch break because nobody was getting to the quarterback. I think that's their one concern. I really like how they fortified the secondary. I think C.J. Gardner-Johnson has really added a nice element to that secondary. But the Detroit Lions are real. I like what they do on offense. They've gotten better on defense. They just need more consistency in getting to the quarterback.
Still the second best team in the division, though.
Yeah.
Still like the Packers.
He likes the Packers.
That's
yes. Just because you got invited on someone's hypothetical private island.
No.
You're at their training camp.
Jair Alexander wanted me to be in his private island.
Did you tell him the story about how you got sick after that?
Yeah, I got sick after that. I know. Yeah, I did. Food poisoning in Green Bay is never a good thing.
But you have a souvenir football back at your house to show for it. We talked about the sluggish start for some of the AFC teams. The Chiefs, obviously the Bills with that horrible performance from Josh Allen. And I'm excited to get into this with both of you guys because I saw both sides of the debate on social media. Is this criticism of Josh Allen? Is it warranted with the interceptions? Is it not? Pete, I'll start with you.
When you go back and look at all the gunslingers in the history of this game, they threw interceptions. And Josh Allen's thrown a fair share of interceptions, but Brett Favre threw more than 13 in every single season except his first one. Dan Marino threw a boatload of interceptions. Peyton Manning threw a boatload of interceptions. It's the way you throw the interceptions. And of all the interceptions he threw, the first one didn't bother me that much. Punt. Basically, it's third down, you take a shot, they catch it down there, it's down on the 3-yard line. The second one was an awful throw, and the third one was even worse. He's trying to fit the ball into the
cover two
against cover 2, and he lets the safety come over. You can't do that. You can't throw it late. The fumble. Josh Allen has to learn when you pick up that ball, go down. You can't be a hero in every play, and that's where his turnovers really add up. When he tries to do too much, He's so physically gifted. He's such a big guy. He thinks he can put his body on the line every single time he gets outside the pocket. There was another play where all he had to do is go out of bounds. Don't take the shot. So I think that's the lesson for Josh Allen. The interceptions, when you're a gunslinger, when he's throwing boatloads of touchdown passes, nobody ever says anything. You're going to throw interceptions. Great quarterbacks throw interceptions. I hate to tell you that, they do. And as one NFL quarterback told me, if I didn't want to throw interceptions, I wouldn't throw any. He'd just be safe, and that's the way they play.
But my thing is, why do we absolve him when people talk about Dak Prescott and 7 straight
Nobody's
weeks?
absolving him. He was bad.
People aren't talking about it. They're literally trashing Dak Prescott.
The guy's been beat up his entire career from the time he came out of Wyoming, the first year, the second year, until he actually became a good quarterback.
Man, people last year were saying he was pushing Mahomes as the greatest quarterback in the NFL.
He was an MVP candidate late into the season.
And he had the most turnovers in the NFL. So you don't find an issue with that? There's a major issue with that.
I find an issue with the interceptions. I don't find an issue with the fumbles, because I think that's something that can be fixed by being less reckless. The interceptions bother me.
But at what point do we just accept this is who he is? You keep saying him being less reckless, but he hasn't shown he can do that.
Usually when you get older, you do.
But that's the thing. So, like, when Dayball was there, he kind of coached it out of him. Now that Dayball's gone, and we saw it with Daniel Jones, kind of coached it out of him too. So was it Josh Allen or was it Daboll? Now, is he reverting back to who he was when it comes to the turnovers, the reckless plays? And you talked about it, right? There was a play when he scrambled. Instead of just going down, C.J. Mosley smoked him on the play. And, like, yes, you're 6'5", 250 pounds, but as you get older, you're going to start feeling that.
Yep.
And he saw it yesterday. You talked about on the drop snap, right? Michael Clemens is a different type of guy. Like, when he hit him, I thought Josh Allen wasn't getting back up, and he fumbled that ball. It wasn't that he ran into the back of nobody. Michael Clemens made him fumble that ball. So it's like you said, at what point this gunslinger mentality, this high school Harry cowboy act, when did we not accept that this is who Josh Allen is, and it's costing his team to lose games?
It is who he is, but it's okay when he's throwing 4 touchdown passes in a playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs, when he's whipping it around all over the place. It's not okay when he's throwing it. He's had more than one game. Oh, my gosh.
Well, let's not forget.
You realize he threw like 20 touchdown passes in the last 10 games last year, and people killed him for it. But the guy's a playmaker. He's going to make mistakes throwing the football. He just has to be less reckless. And by the way, he's not helped out by the fact his right tackle's a spinning top.
I told you that.
They start a rookie guard who's actually going to be a really good player. But where are the weapons? Aside from Diggs, where are those weapons? He has a rookie tight end who's just learning how to play.
Yeah.
Knox hasn't lived up to the expectations. Gabe Davis hasn't lived up to the expectations.
That's why you pay the quarterback that much money. Look at Mahomes. Besides Kelsey, who does he have?
I don't know. It's hard to keep up. It's
agree to disagree.
This will be my final point. My thing is, we can't crucify Tannehill, Jameis Winston, who went 30 for 30 and threw for 5,000 yards if they turned the ball over, but did not crucify Josh Allen, because he has not gotten to the pinnacle. He has not gotten over the top. That Bengals game, he had costly interceptions. The Jets last year and this year, the Minnesota game, costly interceptions. When did we start dinging him and saying this is who he is?
His whole career. Would you take Josh Allen over Dak Prescott, Jameis Winston, or any Ryan Tannehill?
They all been to the same place.
Yes or no?
I might take Dak over him right now.
Oh, my God.
Dak's got a good defense behind him.
Yeah, I'll take Dak over him.
Great debate, gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us. Week 1 in the books, 17 more to go. Week after week, catch all of the action on CBS and on the go on the Paramount Plus app.